In this episode, we smash stuff, nearly break our rigs, and climb up super steep hills at 3 of Moab's most iconic off-road trails. Steelbender, Top of the World, and Fins and Things. All in an effort to find out if the Metalcloak 3.5-inch Game Changer lift for the Gladiator JT is worth the hype. First, let's talk about everything that's included with the Game Changer lift. This is our 2020 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon, and aside from the lift, it's essentially stock. We do have a few minor upgrades that will actually be coming off soon, like the Synergy tie rod, drag link, and SteerSmart track bar. We're running 37-inch KO2 tires on the stock Dana 44 axles. So what's included with the Metalcloak lift? To start, you get full replacement control arms all the way around. Each one is adjustable so you can tune your alignment perfectly. Each arm is 100% forged steel, not cast, so you can literally bounce on these things with the full weight of the vehicle and not have to ever worry about breaking one. Each arm is also fitted with what Metalcloak is calling a Duroflex joint. More on those later. In addition to the control arms, you get new front and rear track bars, which are 4130 solid chromoly, new extended sway bar links that match the additional travel, and you also get true dual rate springs for all 4 corners. In addition to new extended brake lines for the rear and shock mount adapters for the axle that keep the shock off the frame under large amounts of flex. Finally, we opted for the RockSport shocks because we wanted to save some money and we're kind of curious to know how they'd perform for the price. Prior to this lift, I had the Synergy front lower and upper control arms, and the difference between the joints on those and the full Duroflex joints from Metalcloak were night and day. The best way I can describe it is like the difference between driving an old farm truck and then getting in a new modern SUV. The farm truck feels all over the road and not very well planted, while the new SUV feels planted and in control. My steering even felt better and more true, and that's with several blown joints on the tie rod and drag link. Having the dual rate springs is a major for running trails like this. It's hard to explain how they work, but essentially they have 2 rates of travel, the normal spring length and then a secondary extra stretch once the individual corner goes past a certain amount of droop. It honestly feels like the truck is reaching down to the ground to get traction. A major question I had when purchasing this lift was whether or not you needed the 6-pack shocks to get the most out of the kit. To be honest, I wasn't convinced that the tech of the 6-packs were going to be that great. In addition, I've got friends that have had them for about 6 months and are telling me that they're super noisy and they've started leaking oil. So aside from that and the price, we decided to go with the RockSport shocks. I wanted to see just what they were capable of for the price. And I have to say, so far, I couldn't be happier. They feel more planted and smoother on the road than the stock Mopar Fox shocks, and off-road they have a crazy amount of travel. Metalcloak rates them at 30 inches of total extended travel. To give some perspective, even the Fox 2.5 DSC Resi shocks rated for a 4.5 to a 6-inch lift are only rated to an extended travel length of 30.5 inches, and those retail for $2,900. Obviously, there will be clear differences for high-speed use, and the Fox shocks will most certainly be more comfy on-road and off-road, but for the sake of just pure articulation, the RockSports are an amazing value. We couldn't be happier with the total value of this kit. You get so much for your money, and the system works flawlessly on the trail. So some additional things to look out for if you're considering this lift. On certain models, Metalcloak doesn't make the correct shock mount adapters for the axle to keep the shock body off the frame, so be sure to call Metalcloak to ensure your flavor of Gladiator will work with the correct parts. If you have a Rubicon though, you're all set. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed our review of the Game Changer 3.5-inch lift for the Jeep Gladiator. I tried to make it less analytical and more practical, showing our actual experience and our actual uses with it. Christian, what did you think of the Jeep driving around with the lift, the new lift, versus the way it used to drive?
The steering felt stiffer.
Steering felt better?
A lot better.
Yeah, and we've got blown ball joints too on the, or blown end joints on tie rods and on the track bar, and even with all of that, it still feels a ton better, right?
Right, and yeah. I can't stand loose steering, and that was probably the biggest thing as to why I didn't like driving the Jeep like around town. But now it's fun. Now it like has some feel to it, and it's a lot better. And
yeah.
I thought it did excellent on the trail. Almost too good. It did more things than I wanted.
Well, that's a really good point, because I feel like the way it was before. So we had the Mopar lift before, and I feel like the way it was before, it would do a lot of these things, but it didn't feel like it wanted to do them. Whereas now it feels like it craves doing them. Like this is what it's made for.
That's a good analogy.
You know, it's like taking like a 20-foot fishing boat to Cuba versus, you know, taking a cruise ship. Like the cruise ship wants to go. You could take the fishing boat.
Gonna be interesting.
So anyway, thanks for watching, and let us know what you think of our review in the comments, and if we missed anything, also please let us know down below. See ya.